teeth to work on them, you're gonna have to inject in there.
Nasopalatine nerve.
Okay, and it's called nasopalatine injection. So again, it was cut again, but there's only one incisive canal, which is right there. Okay, now the other part. Okay, so again we said this is the maxilla. Okay, anything else on the maxilla I missed?
Can you show the intermaxillary suture or where it would be?
It would be like here.
Okay.
Again, the other half of the skull was
Show it
removed.
again.
This is here.
Thanks.
Okay. Okay. Okay, now maxillary sinus, it's all this big opening right here. Okay? All this where my probe is going, this is maxillary sinus. All that space. Which again, it's all this space right here. After the bone is maxillary sinus. It's important. This bone, this maxillary bone right here is super thin. When you want to anesthetize any of these teeth right here, you don't really do any block. So you go in with your injection, you hit bone and you stop and then you inject. And basically what it does, you're not approaching any nerve. What you're doing is you're just going to depend on the anesthesia itself is going to kind of diffuse it through the bone to go into the nerve, right? Because this bone is super thin. Now, maxillary sinus is also important because sometimes some of these teeth right here, the roots of them, they can be kind of long and they will kind of go into the maxillary sinus. So when you extract the teeth, you're basically exposing the maxillary sinus. And some not very experienced dentists will send those cases into an oral surgeon because they need to close that space after they created the maxillary sinus. Otherwise, we'll get an infection and that sinuses are connected with the brain. That's kind of dangerous, okay? So just a little clinical.
How do they close their sinus?
There's matrices, cartilage matrix, it's called,
Okay.
and they would just like pull it out and then kind of like roll them and put maybe 3 or 4 of them in there and then suture it up. Okay. Okay, so there's the infratemporal crest. Okay. So there's infratemporal crest. It's kind of silly, but do you see this green line right here? This line right there, this is the infratemporal crest. I know I guys keep smiling.
Why do you smile? God.
I can only make it fun.
Wait,
You
you're
gotta
not
appreciate
happy.
joy.
Can you turn it a little bit? What's
Okay.
the crest? I see.
Infratemporal crest, the green line where
Oh,
my
I
probe
see,
is.
I see right there. Gotcha.
What's it called?
Infratemporal crest. Okay, and there's the so in the maxilla bone, there's an infraorbital foramen, which is this one right here. The infraorbital foramen, okay, and there's a supraorbital foramen, and that's in the frontal bone, which is this one. Okay, so that makes sense. Infraorbital, below the orbit, supraorbital, superior to the orbit, right? Okay. Okay, so nasal cavity is basically all this space right here is nasal cavity. Okay, nasal bone. This is nasal bone. Piriform aperture. So if they want to attack the piriform
What's the difference
aperture,
between nasal bone and frontal? Like.
so okay, so this is the frontal. This is the nasal.
Okay.
Okay, so nasal bone. Piriform aperture is basically the outline of the nose. This is piriform aperture.
Where is that on here?
And under
On the
nasal
second
bone.
column, right there. Gotcha.
Okay, so there are also 2 nasal spines. There's an anterior nasal spine, which is basically here. You can feel it with your finger if you want to, which is basically this one right here. It's an anterior nasal spine. And there's a posterior nasal spine, which is right here.